Hi, dear friends. Today we're indoors due to some microphone mishaps, but hopefully the sound will be good just the same, even better, I'm sure. This is Kalidas, here to offer some astrological insights on the current world situation. We are currently in an age known as Dwapara Yuga, and Dwapara Yuga is ascending. That means that mankind in general is on an upward scale of evolution. This is very good news for you and for me, because there's also ages in which mankind is in a downward scale of evolution. And when a big event happens of this magnitude that affects the entire planet, that one human being couldn't possibly be in charge of orchestrating, that only the power of God could be traced. We could trace these events back to the power of God is creating this challenge, this gigantic world crisis that's likely to get worse before it's going to get better. And I'm going to explain Jupiter and Jupiter's struggle that will be going through a very difficult area of the zodiac over the next year to 2 years. But Dwapara Yuga is rising, and this is very good news, as I said, and that is because when there's a large event in either your personal karma in your life, in your own life drama, or when there's a large world drama happening, we are certain to come out of this on the other side more evolved. And that is because we're in an upward yuga cycle. Another piece of good news is every child being born into this world at this time is slightly more evolved than we are. And that's because the ascension of mankind. And what this has to do with is the position of our sun in the zodiac. And it actually is on the move. And it's guiding all of us, all the planets, each of us. The sun is guiding us through the universe, and it's moving towards a great galactic center of cosmic consciousness. We could call it God's consciousness. And as we move towards it, we're on an ascending yuga cycle, which is right now. We're discovering, even in the last 200 years, amazing technological advances. This has to do with Dwapara Yuga, the age of energy. And so it should give us a little bit of, it should be a little bit heartening to know that even though there's a big challenge going on at the time, that we're going to come out of this in a higher place because of the ascending yuga that we're in. And a good example is when Ananda went through the lawsuit. Ananda Worldwide, a beautiful spiritual organization that many truth seekers have benefited so much from, went through one of the greatest tests in its existence back in the 1990s. And this was also, if you can trace Capricorn back through his 29-year cycle around the zodiac, you'll find him in the same position in the zodiac when that lawsuit began as he currently is in the zodiac. So what I'm saying is that Ananda actually, it looked like it was going to be destroyed, just as you might think humanity might be destroyed by the current circumstances, and if they get much worse, it might certainly seem so. But when what happened to Ananda through the lawsuit was a major expansion, a major evolution, and they became ever more effective in sharing the message of their guru Yogananda with the world. So this is a good example of how major challenges can actually, in an upward scale yuga, which we're in, will end up being very beneficial to humanity. Now, what does that mean for you and me? When we get into our own little life dramas and battles, and it's sure to happen at this time because of the very large difference in points of view that people are taking on the current life circumstances, you could simplify it and just say, we're in a battle of light and darkness. Forget the specifics about what you believe and cling to the light within you. Ask God to guide your understanding and move through with your goal of harmony with other human beings first. Friendship is infinitely more important than any political point of view, religious point of view, financial point of view, or any other viewpoint. As I keep saying in these sessions, we're all kind of like mountaintops viewing creation at this time from different vistas, and because another person's mountaintop view looks different, it shouldn't be a surprise. They've had completely different education and mentors and teachers in their lives and experiences. So respect for each other, friendship for each other, these are the things that will help us develop the light in ourselves to ultimately emerge victorious in this great battle of light and darkness that's happening on the planet. And that tends to happen during these Yuga transitions, which we have in the last few hundred years, we've entered into this higher age of Dwapara Yuga, in which we discover these finer forces of energy, of electromagnetisms, of E equals mc squared, that matter is composed of energy. All these incredible discoveries. And Yogananda said this is actually one of the most dangerous times in humanity's evolution, because we are discovering so much on a technological level, but our morality level has yet to catch up. Our recognition of world unity has yet to catch up. And this is Jupiter. Jupiter is the great unifying, truth-revealing power. And currently Jupiter is in Capricorn. And Capricorn is known to be the sign in the zodiac in which Jupiter does not function well. In fact, they give it the term debilitated. But that's actually impossible. It's a really bad term for planetary energies, because to say somebody was born with a debilitated Jupiter, which would be the case if they were born today, it would be like saying they don't have a second chakra, or that one of their chakras is malfunctioning, and they wouldn't have been able to manifest a physical body if that were true. So debilitation, not a very good word, but I'm going to use it just because it will help us understand what's happening to Jupiter at this time, because there are other planets in Capricorn with Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of faith, of positivity, of belief in higher realities, and of unity with all life. And when Jupiter's in Capricorn, it's very practical, factual. It's like, prove it to me. Prove that I'm one with all life. And proof of these things has to happen through individual experience. So beware of the practical mind. Because Jupiter will go through this Capricornian energy, and it's conjunct with Saturn in Capricorn. And I'm actually going to just read to you about Jupiter's path over the next year to 2 years. Because if you picture this square here, this is Capricorn. And above it is another square of the zodiac, and that is Aquarius. And below it is another sign, and that is Sagittarius. Well, this is where the battle's happening, right here in Capricorn. This is like the battle of Kurukshetra. And Jupiter's right in the middle with Saturn and Mars. So it's in a battle right now, the force of virtue, the force of truth and clarity. Have you noticed how hard it is to perceive what's really going on? I don't think God wants us to know. And that's because Jupiter is a planet of faith, not of practical knowledge. So remember, if you cling to the force of light and love and harmony in yourself, you'll be able to work through whatever battle. What is the karmic reason you came into this world during this battle? It certainly has something to do with your own evolution in a very personal way. So if we don't allow the dark force or the negativity that's broadcast all over the headlines to affect us in an emotional way, and instead we cling to the light within us, and remain calm and prioritize harmony and friendship with everyone in our life, we will be able to remove from ourselves whatever dark force currently still stands on the field of our own individual battle. Because that's what the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata was ultimately about. It was about you. It was not about so much a historical battle. Like the one that we find ourselves in now externally is a battle, but it's bringing up something in you, isn't it? It's certainly doing it for me. And I appreciate it. The more we can be grateful for our tests, the more we'll be able to draw the grace that's intended to come to us through those tests. So right now, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn are all together in that sign of Capricorn. And Saturn and Mars are like passionately attached warriors. And they're kind of surrounding Jupiter saying, prove to us that God exists. Prove to us that God's in charge of this situation that seems so chaotic. And it's not going to happen unless each of us goes inside and finds the light inside us. It's not going to be given external proof. At least I don't think for a couple of years things won't be very clear as to what is actually going on externally. So on May 14th, Jupiter will go retrograde. There should be a change in energy at this time. May 14th, it's about 2 weeks away. And that means Jupiter will begin to move backwards in Capricorn. And this will actually go on until September 12th. And Jupiter will enter back. Remember I said there's a bottom square. That's the Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. So Jupiter will go backwards into Sagittarius. This will be a much better position. And he will remain in Sagittarius from September 12th, 2020, until he will reverse his direction. He enters Sagittarius on July 9th, going retrograde, and will go direct again. He'll turn around and begin moving his natural way through the zodiac on September 12th. So these are dates in which we may see energy shifts. And when Jupiter enters back into Capricorn, it will be November 12th, 2020. And that will symbolize another battle. When Jupiter goes back into Capricorn, we're going to get to see at the end of this year, there will be another wave of unexpected circumstances in which people will freak out probably even more. But the good news is that will last until the end of March of 2021. Then Jupiter will enter into Aquarius. So right now I'm just trying to explain to you Jupiter's path. He's kind of going back and forth, and he's not with the friendliest planets. So the force of virtue is in question on the planet. Are we going to win? Is the force of light going to win? Nobody knows. And God doesn't want us to know. He wants to have faith that he's in charge. So Jupiter will be going back and forth amidst Saturn's very strong energy. And it won't actually be until March 30th that Jupiter goes beyond Capricorn into Aquarius. Pardon me if my astrology terminology is confusing to you. I'm just trying my best to offer this service of where the planets actually are. And then I'll get back to speaking of the meaning a little bit better, hopefully. So Jupiter will then, after entering Aquarius in June of 2021, will go retrograde again. And he'll go all the way back into Capricorn. So what I'm pointing out is that we have a Jupiterian going up and down in the zodiac, and he's not going to be able to really establish supremacy of virtue again until Jupiter enters a section of the zodiac in Aquarius known as Purva Bhadrapada. And that will not happen until February 25th of 2022. So I tried to explain how it's going up and down, and goes into Sagittarius, then back into Capricorn, then into Aquarius, then back into Capricorn, and then finally Jupiter will enter into Aquarius for good at the end of 2021 in November, and ultimately get to Purva Bhadra, the place that I'm thinking Jupiter will reestablish real stability. It will enter that section of Purva Bhadrapada on February 25th, 2022. So that is Jupiter's path for the next couple of years, and it is in trouble. And it means that the force of Dharma on the planet is in trouble. And that we each of us, we're going to get in trouble unless inside we cling to the light and say, God's in charge, I'm going to him for guidance. I'm not going to use superficial sources external to myself. I'm going to use God alone. As it says in one of the beautiful chants of Yogananda, let nothing disturb you, nothing affright you. All things will pass, but God changes not. Patient endurance brings you to victory, and once you have God, you'll want nothing more. And that chant is called God Alone, St. Teresa's admonition. One of my favorites, actually. A very simple message. So tomorrow, the moon will go into one of my favorite places in the zodiac. There's 27 different sections in the zodiac known as nakshatras. And tomorrow, the moon's going to enter into what's called Magha. And Magha is the moon sign of Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda, two of my gurus in my life. And the fact that they both incarnated in this one day out of the month where the moon is in this 13-degree section called Magha, it's something to ponder. Well, Swami Kriyananda and Paramahansa Yogananda both have the same moon sign, and it's called Magha. And it has to do with royal renunciation from the past. It has to do with yogi kings. This is a beautiful nakshatra. And it just so happens that a lot of Ananda events, the organization that Yogananda and Kriyananda began, a lot of them coincidentally fall on this moon sign. Like the 50th anniversary big celebration where they brought lots of teachers from all religions to the village here at Ananda to celebrate the oneness of seeking God together. That was on a day when the moon was in Magha, the royal renunciate nakshatra. And it has to do with past life renunciation, past life victory. And so the moon will be in Magha tomorrow on Friday, and then on Saturday, Mars will finally move out of the battle. Things should improve once Mars moves out of Capricorn. On Saturday, the force of passion, of anger, of the third chakra, and it can be fiery. This is going to go away from this Saturn-Jupiter battle, and that's going to be good news, I think, for each of us, because we may feel a little bit less ticked off about this whole thing, or perhaps the situations externally will relax a bit. We don't know. I don't know, and I don't seek to know. I seek God's guidance, and it tends to be what ends up being all we need. So trying to know exactly what's going to happen is impossible. But knowing about the planetary energies can be helpful, and it can be beneficial in many ways. But predicting specifics is not my field. So there's a couple more things I'd like to share today, and one of them is that we here at Ananda, where I live, we're in an organization. And organizations are what are going to be really in the battle at this time. Capricorn is a sign of organizations and systems. So that's where the battle's happening. The world's structures and systems. And here at Ananda, this is an organization. It's a system. And yes, we're right in the battle. We're struggling too financially. It's happening in Ananda's second house, which is the financial house, the material security house. And nobody really knows what we're going to do. But let me say something that might give us some hope. And it's that when Saturn goes through Capricorn, he's going to look for shadowy energy, darkness, corruption. And he will expose and purify that. But when Saturn goes through an organization and that organization is clean, it's in tune, it's attuned to the higher energy of rising Dwapara Yuga, Saturn might test the organization, but ultimately we can rely on his energy expanding it, of blessing it, of empowering it. So I expect Ananda to emerge not just victorious through this, and I mean this about any spiritual organization focusing on truth at this time, especially if it involves community and people living together in harmony. These things will be strengthened through this trial. Just as the lawsuit strengthened Ananda in the end, so will this challenge strengthen spiritually pure organizations worldwide will be blessed by what's happening now. And then lastly, I said a couple weeks ago that the sun, David Frawley spoke of the sun as revolving through our inner solar system. And this is actually a reference to the Kriya Yoga science of Yogananda. It's a way that humans can quicken their evolution by bringing the energy around the inner solar system. And here is the sun. And we revolve our inner life energy around the sun. And this is a way to quicken human evolution. There's a technique behind it. It has a whole preparation process to it, and it's an incredibly helpful technique. Babaji said that this would be the technique that helps mankind to unify and dissolve the separation between religions, because every human is made the same way. We have chakras, we have an enlightened center in our heart and in our brain, and we can use the power of God and love for God to become aware of those higher consciousness centers. Religion does not need to be a specific sect for it to work. We're talking about an age of energy that we're now in, and we're becoming aware of the energetic principles of enlightenment. So the sun is the guide of our galaxy, and this is what is responsible for the yugas. The sun's kind of leading us through space towards this galactic center, and all our planets follow with it while revolving around it. But inwardly, the sun is here. And this is where we should look for guidance. When we have any questions, any emotional disturbance, we can also offer anything up at this point as best we can with the breath. Inhalation, we can bring it up and offer it here. Any disturbance of our equilibrium can be neutralized by this way of offering the energy into the sun. The sun is what guides Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, all these planets I've been speaking of. And the sun is the representation of God. It's the closest thing to God that we can see, the eternal light in the sky. So tune in with your own sun. The reason I bring this up is because just as the individual sun out in space guides our galaxy through the Yuga process, which is fascinating, and you should read about it if this is new to you, in a book called The Yugas by David Steinmetz and Joseph Selby. Just an excellent book that I sincerely hope will someday be in history classes, in the new system, in the new structure, in the new schools, in the new world. And so as we move into this higher yuga of energy, we're going to, as humanity, evolve a lot, but it's going to include a lot of karmic tests through which old systems crumble and new systems are created. That's what we're in the middle of. We're watching an old system crumble. And we're going to recreate a new system. And this system will involve spiritual communities. It will involve cooperative communities of like-minded, kind people who believe in goodness and who believe in oneness and who believe in God. So I hope my time today with you has been inspiring. It has for me. I'm very grateful for a place to share and for receptive people who enjoy having a little astrological insight into their days. And please join me next Monday at 4:30, and we'll continue exploring the stars together. God bless you.